Hello, 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 everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to you. Welcome back. We're going to be starting a new chapter in Sacred Contracts written by Carolyn Myss. And I believe we're starting chapter 8, and this is creating your chart of origin. So now we've learned about all of the houses and how they each correlate with the archetypes that you may have chosen. You may have not by this time, whichever you have done. If you've not done it yet, that's okay. But in this chapter, we're going to focus on how we can make our own chart, our own wheel with our 12 archetypes that we have chosen once we get around to it. So there's a few sections I'm going to read, and then we're going to go into the directions, which consist of, it looks like 5 steps. And so I'm going to keep that video separate with the exercise, with the directions that you're going to follow. But before that, I will read a few of the sections leading up to the actual exercise. So that's going to include a little intro and then a section titled Casting Your Wheel. And then we'll probably stop right there. I'll read the directions separately. And then we'll go on to finish the rest of the sections as usual. This chapter is not too long. So creating your chart of origin. I'm going to put my glasses on. Hold on one second. Okay, there we go. All right, your archetypal wheel shows you your soul's relationship to power. In this chapter, you will learn how to place each of your 12 archetypes into its house of service within the wheel. Each archetype touches the others through the center fulcrum of the wheel. So even though each house is ruled by a particular archetype, it is nevertheless also influenced by all of the other archetypal energies in your chart. And as I stated, I think in my last 2 videos, because we were talking about the wheel, you can actually pull up a PDF of the wheel, probably just an empty one, and then one that has numbers that also correlate with each astrological sign. So I think I did show what the archetype wheel looks like in my 2 previous videos. If you want an example and you want to make your own, you can certainly do that. If your child archetype, for instance, falls into the 9th house, which is spirituality, it signifies that understanding the nature of your child will help you explore your spirituality. A woman named Meg had a 9th house child archetype and realized that she held a very strong parent-child image of her relationship to God. She expected God to reward her when she was good, punish her when she misbehaved, take care of her needs, and receive little in return, just as her parents had done. As a result of her expectations, Meg realized she practiced a very immature spirituality, a passive view of God. This insight led Meg to understand why she felt abandoned or thought she had done something wrong whenever she did not get what she wanted. At the same time, the child represented an image of trust and safety in God. I pray to an image of God the Father, Meg said. I do not relate to the concept of the divine, which for me is impersonal, cold, and distant. I need the father figure. I feel safe and loved within this image in a way that the concept of the divine doesn't provide. This is the positive side of my childlike spirituality. My child also reminds me that, like a child, I often do not hold myself accountable spiritually, and addressing this absence of spiritual maturity has now become a focus of my inner life. Meg used this archetypal image to help her reshape her spiritual life. Each of her challenges required that she learn to accept divine guidance rather than demand that all of her needs be met like a spoiled child. As an intuitive instrument, the archetypal wheel takes you beyond rational and logical perceptions. It also serves as a creative vessel in which you have access to images and inspiration and can mix them to get extraordinary insights. Out of this spiritual crucible can emerge a refined, more durable vision of your life's purpose. In working with the wheel, I often picture King Arthur with his 12 knights of the Round Table. Each archetype rules a portion of the kingdom under the guidance of the king, your intuition. Arthur converses with each one, learning the intimate details of each knight's estate, what is beautiful about that part of the country, and any potential troubles or challenges. To maintain his kingdom, to create a Camelot, he must consolidate the power of all 12 knights, forming one united, harmonious circle. Loss, separation, and revolt in any one estate would threaten the health of the entire realm. As you read your own wheel, you may see how each of your knights interconnects with the others. Memories of one part of your life linked to a conversation you were having today that is somehow connected to a book you read 2 years ago, and to a creative venture inspired by a business associate who made an offhand comment this morning. I know exactly what she's saying, how that all works out. It comes full circle, doesn't it? In my workshops, people share stories of their lives in which they recall how one experience led to another, forming a finely linked chain that connects them to the whole of their lives. One remarkable man named Jim told a story that epitomizes that process. "I had an accident when I was 11 that left me partially paralyzed," he said. "After my accident, I was afraid of everything, and I believed that I would never have a normal life. Then one day I decided that rather than focus on my fears, the time had come for me to learn to accept that all things happen for a reason. Everyone needs to learn that truth in some measure, but for me it amounted to releasing my attempt to control my life. Especially after my accident, I believed that as long as I demanded order, I could minimize any more unexplainable, undeserved traumas. Now I look at everyone as energetically connected to everyone else and, of course, to me. I look for the one thing that each person brings into my life that contributes to my empowerment. Regardless of whether a relationship is positive or difficult, my attention focuses on holding the thought that invisible purpose leads to divine empowerment. Even though you may not always see how the people and events in your life are linked to each other and to you, your wheel provides a map on which you can plot the points of interaction between them. This helps you to connect the dots and form a clearer picture of what is happening. And now the next section. So this video is going to be a little bit short, which is fine. We've had plenty of long ones. This one is titled Casting Your Wheel. The wheel you are about to cast will serve as the basic chart of your life, and so it is meant to be cast only once. In Chapter 10, you will learn to use the same technique to seek guidance on specific questions and issues that are confronting you. But this first archetypal wheel is akin to your natal chart in astrology. Just as you cannot have more than one moment of birth, so you cannot make more than one first archetypal wheel. This is your beginning point, which I sometimes call your contract wheel or chart of origin. And as you continue to return to your wheel for interpretations of additional areas of your life, you must use the same wheel. You are not to reshuffle and cast a new wheel each time you work, with the intention of understanding the whole of your contract. This is the only wheel that presents you with an overview of all the connecting cycles and archetypal patterns of your sacred contract. The actual task of casting your archetypal wheel is rather simple. Clear your mind of expectations and desires and focus your intention to be open to whatever guidance you receive. Take several deep breaths to clear your mind. Your archetypes will be guided into their appropriate houses by the energy of simultaneity, coincidence, spiritual order, divine paradox, and destiny. As explained in Chapter 7, this psychic electricity creates a kind of magnetic organizational process, as it does for runes, tarot, and the I Ching, astrology, and other tools that communicate with your intuition and unconscious. Like them, your wheel is a means to an end, an organizational system that supplies a form through which the patterns of your psyche and soul can reveal themselves to you. When you release your intention for casting your chart of origin, it is natural to wonder, exactly whom am I addressing? There will come a moment when you will wonder if God or just your subconscious is on the receiving end of your intentions and your questions. It's risky for me to say absolutely that you are addressing God, the divine, or whatever name you use for the guiding force of the universe, as if you were saying a prayer and waiting for the answer. Some people might prefer to say that all the answers come from within anyway. That's what I was going to say. If you feel more comfortable visualizing the process that way, then go with that. I happen to believe that the divine dwells within us as well as around us, whether we call it God, Atman, Buddha, nature, our higher self, or just that still small voice. We are heard when we ask for guidance, and that's all that matters. So when you come to the point of questioning who or what it is at the other end of your request for guidance, and you definitely will, search for the highest perspective you can reach. Look at how your life would feel if you were liberated from fear and private agendas. Investigate your life as if you believed that failure is impossible. Act as if your intentions were prayers, that they were being released into the ears of the divine. After all, what harm can that do? Or to put this another way, are you ever separated from your own sacred self? Hardly. In clearing your mind prior to casting your wheel, use this meditation as a centering device. Close your eyes and breathe deeply into your abdomen, allowing your stomach to expand as you breathe in and contract as you exhale. See yourself as a hollow reed or membrane expanding and contracting. Continue in slow, deep breaths, repeating, I have no desires, I have no thoughts. I am empty of all disturbances. I am empty of all my needs. I am open to receive. Be receptive. When you are seeking interior guidance, you are requesting insights that could potentially change the present course of your life. Even though your conscious mind is making the request, your unconscious may block the answers if they are not what you want to hear. Long ago, I learned that people come to my workshops on developing intuition more to learn how to block their guidance than to get in touch with it. Their intuitive receptivity is so strong that they suffer miserably from the stress of intuitive repression. More often than not, these people are hoping that they will tap into an ability to see what the future will bring so that they can avoid risk, uncertainty, and unpleasantness. They want intuition to tell them what will happen tomorrow so that they can take the risk factor out of their decisions. That will never happen, and that is not the nature of intuition. Receiving intuitive information or guidance is effortless. What is difficult is removing your fears about what your intuition is telling you. Should you discover that you are unable to be truly open to any and all guidance that come to you through this tool, that realization in itself speaks deeply about the intensity of your fears, all of which you can identify through working with your archetypal patterns. Holding an open mind will allow your archetypal patterns to assume their most natural positions in your chart. You are embarking on an experience to learn more about your life. Treat yourself and the voice of your psyche with respect, because it is a living force that yearns for channels through which it can communicate. All right, so we'll stop right there and then we'll read the directions. And I actually think I'm going to film that video next because it's not terribly long, just as this video wasn't terribly long. So I will be seeing you guys shortly for the next part of this chapter. I will see you again soon. I love you all very much. And as always, take care of yourself and take care of those around you until I see you again. Bye-bye.